everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and today we're going to talk about the spring new releases I'm really excited about for 2025. As always, there's usually a ton of books that I'm excited for. Every quarter I do this video. I probably should do it by month, but some months I probably wouldn't even have any. So I just do it quarterly because it kind of gives everybody a heads up on what to pre-order, what not to pre-order. Well, I mean, obviously I want to, read all of these, so that doesn't matter. But we're going to talk about the ones that are coming out in April, May, and June. So it's going to be lots of fun. We're going to find some great books to talk about because it's been a while since I've actually looked at my lists. So I do have a couple of thrillers coming out and that I'm really excited about. The first one is called Kill Creatures by Rory Power, and I do talk about secular fiction and Christian fiction. So Christian fiction's like got its whole category, so I usually talk about those at the end. So as far as regular thrillers go, Kill Creatures, this one says, last summer, Nan's three best friends disappeared into Salt Cedar Canyon. She spent the years since grieving their loss and avoiding questions about what happened that night. Now, on the anniversary, she's ready to say goodbye, and so are the girls' families, who have reconvened to hold a memorial. But their vigil is interrupted by the shocking return of one of the missing girls alive. Everybody is overjoyed. Everybody, that is, except Nan, who is pretty sure they were dead. And after all, she's the one who killed them. But is she? I don't know. But it sounds really interesting. So I was like, oh, that sounds actually kind of interesting. Next one is called Tell Me Something Good by Court Stevens. And I don't know. I thought Court Stevens was a Christian author. I'm not sure. I've never read any of this author's work, but I thought for some reason that she was, because there's a couple that I think have been published from, I can't remember if it's Thomas Nelson or what, I can't remember what company, but I'm pretty sure she is. So this one says, this is a story of the rich and the very poor. This is the story of an illegal auction with dire consequences. This is a story of murders past and present. This is a story of intertwined relationships and the silent ripples they leave behind, where love becomes a guiding force, revealing the lengths one will go to protect those they cherish. Over 20 years ago, a young hunting guide in rural Kentucky was driving his boat in the early morning mist when his peaceful cruise was cut short by a scene so disturbing he packed and moved away. 9 women died early that morning, but it was linked to a similar crime in Texas, so the locals quickly wrote it off as having nothing to do with them. And I'm sure that mystery creeps back up nowadays, so it sounds really good, doesn't it? I'm really excited for that one. Then the last one, as far as thrillers go, I did forget to say the dates those come out. Kill Creatures by Rory Power is June 5th, and Tell Me Something Good by Court Stevens is June 3rd. Next one comes out May 20th, and that is The Safari by Jacqueline Goldis. And this cover is vibrant and fun, and anything that has to do with Africa, I am so for. This one says, when a wealthy family goes on a South African safari, a series of shocking murders rocks their exclusive compound in this unpredictable thriller. Odelia Babel, CEO of a sustainable fashion empire, is about to marry for the second time to a man 25 years her junior. Asher Bach is the 30-something designer of Odelia's luxury clothing line, the darling of every high-fashion journalist and madly in love with Odelia. Eager to celebrate her nuptials with her nearest and dearest, Odelia invites her adult children, her daughter-in-law, her grandchild, and her best friend assistant to an all-expenses-paid luxury safari. That's a buzzword. All expenses paid luxury safari, yes please, in South Africa, the Babel family's favorite vacation spot. In its soil, they have deep roots and even darker secrets. I'm excited. Okay, on to romances. I don't think there's any mainstream romances. There could be. Oh, there is one. This one is called Save the Date by Allison Raskin, and I'm not sure if she's a clean romance author or not, but it sounded really cute. It says, when couples therapist Emma Moskowitz is unceremoniously dumped by her fiancé 6 months before their wedding, her world comes crashing down. Her thriving private practice, her status as a popular online creator, even her book deal all hinge on the fact that Emma is an expert when it comes to romantic relationships. Not to mention her heart is ripped in half. It isn't fair. She worked so hard to be ready for marriage. If only Emma could find a different groom by her planned wedding day, nothing would have to change. So commences Operation Save My Date. As Emma publicly shares her untraditional journey to the altar online, things get complicated quickly. She finds herself caught between Will, a charismatic podcast producer who is not interested in being a replacement groom, and Matt, a sweet recent divorcee eagerly looking to settle down. As the wedding day approaches, Emma must decide what future she truly wants for herself. After all, her family, her book editor, and a large portion of the internet are watching. That sounds super cute. So I'm really excited to read that one. It sounds really cute. All right, on to, let's see if there's any middle grade ones coming out. I keep forgetting to mention when it comes out. April 8th. That's April 8th. All right, middle grade. I have one that's coming out on May 6th, and that is called Where There Be Monsters by L.B.C. Williams. Actually, there's two coming out in May. This one is the first book in a series called The Outer Sphere, and it says, for fans of Amari and the Night Brothers and the Marvelers, it's a debut middle grade fantasy. It's a sweeping adventure filled with monsters, mysteries, and mischief. 11-year-old Glory Brown is desperate for adventure, far from her family's quaint, quiet life at the Light Inn. Generations of Browns have been stewards of this humble hotel, which acts as a sanctuary in the stretch of monster-filled land called the Seam. But Glory wants nothing more than to learn how to use her moxie, a special magic only kids have, and to train to become a spheronaut like her mother, exploring and documenting the perilous depths of the outer sphere. So it sounds like maybe it's like a little bit of planet travel plus monsters. I don't know. We'll see how it is. Then the other one that's coming out on May 20th is called The Garden Just Beyond by Lindsay Leavitt. And this one says, for 14-year-old Maggie Gartner, nothing is more magical than family dinner. She's not unique in that. Anyone lucky enough to purchase a meal ticket at the Gartner's estate in the New Jersey Pine Barrens claims the food changed their life. That's a given when you harvest crops that purposely alter emotions. Add in the sparkling company of an eccentric family who has hidden a centuries-old agricultural secret, and you're guaranteed a rollicking night. Except Maggie's different. She's not great at conversations or human interactions. That's all going to change when Maggie cooks her first dinner and proves she's just as Gartner as everyone else. But in the shadow of her growth, a mysterious stranger moves to Humble Hollow, buying up land and overtaking Humble Hollow's biggest holiday, Factory Day. The stranger's nefarious dealings put the Gardeners at risk of losing much more than their business. So that sounds amazing. And dinners that change like your moods and stuff and emotions, color me intrigued. All right, then I am going to go, let's see, historical fiction. Is there any that's popping out? Actually, yes, there is. There's actually all three of them that I had listed are from this coming spring. So the first one is called A Time Traveler's Masquerade by Sean Ann Bessie, and she is actually a Christian author, I believe. And this one, I have read one book by her, and it was stellar. The writing was fantastic. It was a Viking romance. I was like, this has just hit the spot, and I loved it. I was listening to literally Viking warrior songs as I was reading the book. So, you know, a book is fantastic when I start listening to music that kind of embodies the book, and that one did. So, A Time Traveler's Masquerade. I mean, it's a time traveler story. That's close to my heart. I love time traveler stories. So this one is, I guess, part of a series. I don't know if there's any more. No, there is one that's announced, so it's coming out. So this must be book one, A Time Traveler's Masquerade, and it's book one in a McKeevy's Costume Shop romance series. So this one says, let's see, one moment Isla Crawford is inside McKeevy's costume shop trying on a Jacobin-style gown for the parliamentary autumn ball, and the next she's standing in an unfamiliar garden, barefoot, coatless, and at the mercy of a fierce storm. Confused, she seeks refuge in a Tudor manor, where she discovers that she has inexplicably traveled back to 1605, mere weeks before the culmination of Guy Fawkes' infamous gunpowder plot. So, sounds good. And I have read another book about the Guy Fawkes plot, and I didn't really enjoy it that much, so I'm really hoping this will be a redeeming storyline for that part of history. I hope, because I love history and I love learning new things. But I'm really excited for that one. Next is The Star of Camp Green by Joy Calloway, and that one comes out on May 6th. This is a novel of World War I, and it says, in Charlotte, North Carolina, 1918, Broadway darling Culla Conley, wow, that's a mouthful, had a rising career on the stage and a loving fiancé, a fellow stage actor. But after his tragic death early in the war, Culla is touring the American training camps, hoping to convince General Pershing to let her tour the French front to cheer the men and honor her fiancé's memory. But her hopes are dashed when she contracts Spanish flu while performing at Camp Green. While convalescing, Culla inadvertently overhears a sensitive army secret and is ordered to remain at Camp Green for the duration of the war, while her former mentor and rival steals her tour out from under her. Having no choice but to stay at the camp, she becomes a resident performer and forms attachments to several musician soldiers. So it sounds really good and really interesting. Then the last one is another Kristen Harmel book, which I've only read one of her books, but I really did enjoy it. There was like one love scene in it, but it was like very, very short. The rest was very, very good. And so she has a new one coming out, and it's a bright pink cover. I love a good pink cover. So this one's called The Stolen Life of Colette Marceau. And this one comes out on June 17th. And it says Colette Marceau has been stealing jewels. That's another buzzword. Jewel thief? Yes, please. For nearly as long as she can remember, following the centuries-old code of honor instilled in her by her mother, take only from the cruel and unkind and give to those in need. Never was their family tradition more important than 7 decades earlier during the Second World War, when Annabelle and Colette worked side by side in Paris to fund the French Revolution, the French resistance, pretty much funding them by stealing, I'm sure. But one night in 1942, it all went wrong. Annabelle was arrested by the Germans, and Colette's 4-year-old sister Lillian disappeared in the chaos of the raid, along with an exquisite diamond bracelet sewn into the hem of her nightgown for safekeeping. Soon after, Annabelle... Okay, that might be a spoiler, so we're going to skip that. But it sounds amazing. Diamond bracelet. It sounds amazing, so I'm excited for that one. I think it's going to be a really good one. Fantasy and sci-fi releases. Are there any? I do love a good fantasy and sci-fi. They're all good. Let's see if I have any on here that are coming out soon. So there's one coming out May 13th. It's called What If It's You by Jilly Cagnon, something like that. And it sounds like a romance sci-fi type of situation or fantasy. It says, everyone wonders about the one that got away, and thanks to an alternate reality tech project, one woman will get the chance to actually find out. When Laurel Everett finds a ring in her longtime boyfriend Ollie's sock drawer, she should be thrilled. So why is she left wondering, what if? Specifically, what if she'd taken up her work crush Drew on his offer of a date, just after she and Ollie got together? Thanks to her job at tech giant Pixel, she might have a way to answer that question through the, alternate reality project, which promises users a glimpse of alternate realities. Or it will, once the quantum computers it relies on get more powerful. So, program starts working, we'll see what's going on. It sounds really cute, so I'm intrigued. Next one is I Contain Multitudes by Christopher Hawkins, coming out on April 30th. And I think this is another time travel book, maybe not. Let's see, it says, hunted through an ever-shifting patchwork of worlds, one woman must rediscover her own past to restore reality before it's too late. Unstuck from reality, Trina Bell never wakes up in the same world twice. Lost and alone, she crosses paths with an old librarian who is the only person who remembers her when everything else changes around them. When an encounter with a sadistic doctor makes Trina question whether she herself might be the cause of the shifting realities that are escalating out of control, she sets out to stop them. Alternate realities. She might be changing history. Oh, sounds good. Oh, my dad would probably enjoy that one. Hopefully it's good. Next is called The Trader of Sherwood Forest by Amy S. Kaufman. This one comes out on April 29th. Why do I feel like I know that author's name? Well, I guess not. I don't know why I thought I knew that author's name. It is a reimagining of Robin Hood, which that's another buzzword. I love Robin Hood retellings. It says Jane Crow is an ordinary peasant girl who never dreamed she would work for the infamous Lord of the Greenwood. But when she's forced out of her home, she has no choice but to turn to Robin Hood for help. And he makes her an irresistible offer. He needs a pair of eyes in the king's houses, and quiet, unassuming Jane, who has spent her whole life going unnoticed, will be the perfect spy. So this one actually could be more like, I guess it could be considered fantasy, but it's like a fairy tale retelling mixed with like historical fiction. So I'm really excited. I do love a good Robin Hood retelling. Next is The Memory Collectors. It comes out May 20th by Deet Meserve. I gotta work on these name pronunciations. And this cover drew me in. I mean, this cover, I don't know why, but aqua and orange are like my two favorite color combinations. Kind of matches my hair actually and my shirt. But I just love aqua and orange together. Or aqua and yellow. It just works for me. So this one says, four strangers time travel, yes please, check mark, to the past and find themselves stuck on the day all their lives were changed in this stunning speculative mystery. What would you do if you could spend an hour in your past? 4 strangers in the beach town of Ventura, California are about to find out. I'm excited. And I think like they all end up in their own pasts, but like they're only supposed to be there for an hour, but the time somehow extends and they're kind of stuck there. So I'm really excited. Next one is The Other Side of Now by Paige Harbison. It comes out June 3rd. And again, cover, aqua and orange. It just draws me in. This one says, a hilarious and heartfelt novel about how loves and lives are never truly lost. With a leading role on a hit TV show and a relationship with Hollywood's latest heartthrob, Meg Bryan. I think somebody's a fan of Meg Ryan. Meg Bryan appears to have everything she ever wanted, but underneath the layers of makeup and hairspray, her happiness is as fake as her stage name, Lana Lord. Following a small breakdown at her 30th birthday party, she books an impromptu trip where she knows the grass is greener, Ireland. Specifically, the quaint little village where she and her best friend Amy always dreamt of moving, a dream that fell apart when an accident claimed Amy's life a decade ago. When Meg arrives, the people in town are so nice, treating her not as a stranger, but a friend, except for the extremely gorgeous bartender giving her the cold shoulder. Meg writes it all off as jet lag until she looks in the mirror. Her hair is no longer bleached within an inch of its life. Her skin has a few natural fine lines, and her nose looks like, well, her old nose, her real nose. Her phone reveals hundreds of pictures of her life in this little town, with an adorable dog she doesn't know, with the bartender who might be her ex-boyfriend, and at a retail job unrelated to acting. Eventually, she comes to accept that she somehow made a quantum slide into an alternate version of her life. But the most shocking realization of all, in this life, her best friend Amy is alive and well, but wants nothing to do with Meg. That just sounds so amazing. Oh, I cannot wait for that. That sounds stinking amazing. Oh, so good. Then the next one is coming out on June 10th. It's called Writing Mr. Right by Alina Kawaja. Not sure about that either. It is a rom-com about a struggling writer's muse suddenly comes to life, but can they create their own happily ever after? Legal secretary by day, aspiring novelist by night, Zaya Khan pours herself into writing stories, featuring the kinds of diverse characters she loves. In exchange, she's got a growing pile of rejection letters. When yet another thanks but no thanks arrives on the eve of her 30th birthday, Zaya decides to throw her novel and her dreams in the trash. End of story. Except that when Zaya wakes up, there's a flesh and blood version of her muse standing in her kitchen. His name is Ashik, I think, and it's his job to inspire Zaya to write again. From singing karaoke to standing up for herself at work, he's pushing Zaya out of the sidelines and into the world, showing her how to live and love fully. So there could be romance. Maybe he helps her find romance in her real world. I don't know, but it just sounds so cute. I love when characters come out of books. It's great. I love that storyline. Next is called A Girl Walks into the Forest by Madeline Rowe, and it comes out on June 10th. And this one, the cover is a little bit on the creepy side. I will admit that. So I don't know if it's going to be for me or not. It says, for as long as she can remember, Vala's been told her beauty would give her a life most people only dreamed of. So when the mysterious Count Leonid calls on her to be his betrothed, Vala jumps at the chance to leave her small bleak village, the only thing standing in her way. The journey through the dangerous Gautier wood that many don't survive. Filled with deadly and cunning creatures, the Gautier immediately delivers on its reputation with an attack that leaves Vala injured, her face torn to shreds. Barely making it to the castle in one piece, Vala is relieved to finally be safe. But things have changed. Vala's face is no longer beautiful, and the Count is not happy. Vala thought that making it through the Gautier was a victory, but when she sees what awaits beyond the palace walls, the true battle begins. So I think it's going to be really good. And hopefully she'll find out, will she find true love? Will she love herself? Hopefully she'll end up loving herself. And then our last one is Christian fiction, which is usually the majority of the bulk of what's coming out for me. So let's see. And I'm sorry these aren't in any publication order, only because Goodreads is not good at putting them in order. So it's kind of hard to put them in order. I do try, but it doesn't work. So let's see. The first one that's coming out is on May 6th. It's called Capture the Moment by Suzanne Woods Fisher. And this one I was like, yes, this sounds incredible. So this one's about a photographer, and Kate Cunningham is facing the opportunity of a lifetime. She's a zoo photographer. She spent years photographing animals in carefully controlled environments. But now National Geographic has dangled an irresistible, if Kate can snag a unique photo of the legendary grizzly bear number 339 in Grand Teton National Park, they might publish it. It's the kind of challenge Kate has been waiting for, and she's eager to prove herself in the wild. And so anything that has to do with that, like growing up, I kind of wanted to be a National Geographic photographer, but I never got that involved in photography. But reading about it, I think it's gonna be a really great read. Next one comes out the last book in the Jewels of Kalispell series by Tracy Peterson and Kimberly Woodhouse. So I can't say anything about it because it's book 3, but I have been enjoying the books as a whole, and I've gotten like all 3 books signed by both authors. I have book plates from them because they signed book plates for me. But I'm excited because I love when they write together. They just have great chemistry. They kind of have like similar aspects of historical romances. So I'm really excited to just finally knock off another series off my list that I finished. And yes, so historical romance, Tracy Peterson, Kimberly Woodhouse, I'm excited for. That one comes out on May 20th. Then the next one is the last book in the A Shanahan Match series by Jody Hedlund. Comes out May 6th. And I didn't really like the first book that much, but the second book, the romance has been one of my absolute favorites since I've read it. And it was such a beautiful romance story. I loved the matchmaking. They were a perfect match. Absolutely perfect match. And so I'm really intrigued to see where the last book takes us. A Wager with Matchmaker. And I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to spoil anything for myself because I don't really want to know who the 2 characters are in this book, even though I kind of have a hint of who it's going to be. But just know it's matchmaking, and it's a fun series. I know a lot of people, my mother enjoyed the first book a lot, but the second book was like top notch for me. I'm hoping this will be another top notch read. Next is The Atlas of Untold Stories by Sarah Brunsvold. So Sarah Brunsvold is coming out with another one. She is the author of The Extraordinary Death of Mrs. Kipp. And this next one has such a cute cover. I love this. And it's such a cute cover with the books and the road and everything. So this one is about a dreamer named Chloe Vance, and she needs to tell her mom, Edie, that she has accepted a low-paying 2-year art instructor role at a Christian international school in Prague. And her older sister, Lauren, the responsible one, is doing all she can to keep the family from finding out she's been fired for a stupid mistake, plus figure out her next career move. Meanwhile, Edie, estranged from her own sister following their mother's recent death, is frankly in no mood for anything else to change. The one thing they can all agree on, life in books sure is easier to figure out than life in the real world. As the 3 women embark on a 9-day road trip to visit significant literary sites throughout America's heartland, they hope to find inspiration through the works and lives of literary greats. A literary adventure road trip? Yes, please. Road trips can be hit or miss for me. Since I've done plenty of road tripping in my lifetime. So to me, honestly, a lot of stories can be more slow paced for me since I've lived a road tripping life, almost every single summer. So it's they're kind of hit or miss for me. I have a feeling this could be a hit. I do. So hopefully it is. Next is The Pursuit of Alana Bradford by Anne H. Gabbert, and I really enjoy her books. They're very, very just sweet historical romance books. This one's about 22-year-old Alana Bradford, and she's never met a man who made her consider marriage. But when her father dies and leaves the family deeply in debt, it could be Elena. It's probably Elena. Elena becomes her family's only hope. Her mother uses their last funds to take Elena and her younger sister to Graham Springs, Kentucky, where people find healing by drinking the mineral spring water and healthy recreation through the many daily activities, including dances almost every evening. As her mother schemes to find Elena a wealthy husband, Elena finds herself drawn to 2 men her mother would never consider. Charming artist Kirby Fraser spends his days drawing and painting the guests, but his real mission is to find a wealthy bride to finance his dream to go west. Melancholy Andrew Harper has come to Graham Springs in need of healing after a broken heart. Next one is the next book in the Timeless series by Gabrielle Meyer called Every Hour Until Then. Comes out May 20th, and I'm just so excited. I don't even need to know what they're about. I really tend to go into these books blind because I really don't want to know anything about them. This is, I think, book 5? Yeah, book 5. And book 6 comes out later on this year. But I'm just really, really intrigued to see what's going to happen in this story. I'm excited. So if you don't know the Timeless series, it's about these women, and there's also guys and partially in the stories as well. But it's handed down generation to generation, where you have a birthmark that allows you to live different timelines. So you fall asleep in one timeline and you wake up in the other timeline, not having any time had passed. So, nobody's going to say, hey, you've been missing for the past 24 hours. So she kind of lives like a double life, like 2 days instead of 1 day each. Sounds like a really long day. But anyways, so it's a really, really great story. I love it. And by a certain age, they have to decide which timeline they want to keep. And it doesn't usually go as planned. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And, it's all in God's plan. So I'm really excited for that one. I think it's going to be great. I don't even know what it's about, but I can't wait for it. I cannot wait for it. I just realized I have the same hair color as the girls on the cover. So it's going to be even great. So the next one comes out on June 3rd, and it's called From the Valley We Rise by Elizabeth Musser. And I cannot wait for this one. I read my first Elizabeth Musser book last year, and it was phenomenal. The characters were so well written. I loved the story. And when I heard she was coming out with a new one, I was like, yes, please. I am going to be reading that one. And I still feel bad. When I met her, I mistook her for Lynn Austen. And I was like, I am so sorry, because I never met either lady before. And she was so sweet. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I should not have mistaken you for Lynn Austen, because your book was absolutely amazing. And I'm like, but anyways, so I'm really excited that she's coming out with a new one. I think this one is set during World War II. It says, loyalty during peril in the heart of war-torn France. Isabel, I am totally going to butcher her last name. No, we're not even going to try. Isabel's resolve is tested after her father sacrifices his life to protect her involvement in the French resistance. Heartbroken, Isabel becomes more dedicated to hiding Jewish children in and near the village of Sisteron, despite the growing danger when she discovers a traitor within the resistance ranks. So, I have a feeling it's going to be really good. I just have this feeling. I have not read any of his books yet, but the 4th book in the Matthew Red series, Gone Dark by Ryan Steck, comes out on June 17th. And I am planning on starting this series this year. I actually own books at least 1 and 2. I think I own book 3, but don't quote me. I see book 1 and 2 on my card, but I can't remember if I have owned book 3. But I just know it says a thriller. And I'm like, yes, please, especially, a Christian fiction thriller. And so I don't want to know anything about it. And Jamie Jo Wright recommended the first book to me, so I still need to read it. But I still think it's going to be a fantastic read. Next is called Silent Horizons by Chad Robichaux and Jack Stewart. And I think this is going to be kind of like a army thriller type story. This one says he's gone behind enemy lines countless times before, but this time he's going alone. Foster Quinn is more than a former Force Recon Marine. He's a husband, a father, a faithful brother to his teammates. When one of them is killed during a high-risk operation to track down a dangerous arms dealer, Foster struggles to balance his roles as a dedicated family man and an elite warrior. Despite his inner demons, or maybe because of them, Foster can't walk away from his brothers. Now, I have a feeling I'm going to like it. I love a good kind of military thriller type story with lots of action, so I'm hoping it's going to have lots of action. And it does say the authors, Chad is a former Force Recon Marine, and Jack Stewart is a Navy Top Gun fighter pilot, so they have the best experience to write a book, so I really have high hopes for this one. Next one is called What Not to Do on Vacation. It's by Rachel McGee, and it's a rom-com featuring fake dating and a Playboy hero. It says 10 Things I Hate About You meets How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Savannah is determined to reconnect with her 2 sisters. Her plan? To recreate their epic childhood summers at the beach. She has rented the same beach house, convinced her sisters to clear their calendars for a whole month, and made a bucket list of beach activities they need to relive. A little bit of nostalgia and summer fun will be the perfect antidote to the divide that has been plaguing the Presley sisters for years. Did the secret she's hiding have anything to do with her planning the trip? Maybe, but that's beside the point. The fact is, everyone could use a little vitamin C in their life. It's going to be great. What could go wrong? I'm just going to stop there, because a road trip gone wrong, we're going to see. Next is War Safe by Lauren Smythe, coming out on May 6th, and I'm really intrigued by the cover, and it's a sci-fi. It says, play, win, survive. There's one building on her island that Hallie has never been to, the Mercenary House. Perched atop a mountain surrounded by unnaturally evergreen foliage, the house is rumored to be a breeding ground for criminals. Mercenaries are liars, cheats, spies, and maybe, depending on who you ask, killers. At the WarSafe headquarters in Seattle, Roscoe is beta testing the company's new video game. It's her job to track down glitches, but something is different about this one. Lurking behind the lines of malfunctioning code is a secret that threatens to drag her deeper into the game, forcing her to put her life on the line if she ever wants to come home. That sounds amazing. Next is Illuminary by Shauna Schroeder. This one comes out April 8th. It says, glimpse the past, illuminate the future. Yusari Patakin dreams of becoming an illuminator in a country that values art above all else. A lofty goal that finally seems within reach when she earns a position at the prestigious Academy of the Seven Arts. Although Yusari loathes to leave behind her quiet country life, she travels to the capital, determined to live up to her mother's fame as one of Indel's greatest artists. Prince Xander never planned to become king. Indeed, he never wanted to become king. But when his father dies suddenly, he is thrust into the middle of coronation preparations and assassination attempts. With everyone around him in increasing danger, Xander decides to hide in neighboring Indel until the time for him to be crowned king arrives. Posing as an inventor struggling with aesthetics, Xander enlists Yusara's aid as part of his cover, but soon he suspects she knows more than she should. Next is The Voice We Find by Nicole Deese. It releases on April 15th. This is her third and final book in the Fog Harbor series. And I enjoyed book 1. Book 2 I enjoyed pretty good, but I didn't really connect with the characters as well as I did in the first book. So we'll see how this one goes. This one says, Sophie Wilder returns home to California with nothing more than a failed Broadway career and a geriatric cat. Stuck working at the family winery with her egotistical brother and desperate for a way to revive her acting dreams, she takes a side gig as an audiobook narrator with Fog Harbor Books. But getting mixed up in the life of her reluctant sound engineer was never a part of her plans. I think this one's going to be really good. I really like the idea about like an audiobook narrator. I don't think I've ever read a book with an audiobook narrator before. Becca Kinzer has a new book coming out. It's called First Love, Second Draft. Orange cover. Fun. I'm not a huge fan of orange covers, I will say, but I think this one works pretty well for this book. So this one says, she's a romance writer burned out on love. He's her famous baseball star ex-husband. The last man she wants to be forced to work with is the one who broke her heart. So it's a second chance romance. I like when those turn out really well. Rom-com writer Gracie Parker hasn't written a bestseller since she and her husband, a Major League Baseball star, divorced 5 years ago. On thin ice with her publisher and with a looming deadline, Gracie couldn't have picked a worse time for a painful injury that has her flat on her back. At this point, she'd accept help from anybody, except her first love and ex-husband, Noah Parker. I have a feeling I'm going to enjoy it. I love Becca Kinzer's work. Next is Jamie Jo Wright's newest book called Tempest at Annabelle's Lighthouse. It comes out on April 1st. And this is set in 1874 and present time. In 1874, a battered woman awakens atop a forgotten gravesite by Lake Superior. Identified only by the locket around her neck, inscribed with the name Rebecca, she seeks refuge with an elderly lighthouse keeper named Edgar. But as Rebecca struggles to remember who she is, she finds herself haunted by the lingering memories of Annabelle, a mysterious woman who perished in the unforgiving waves of Lake Superior years earlier. And in the present day, author and researcher She Radcliffe escapes to the lighthouse outside a historic mining town in Michigan, seeking clarity about her failing marriage. Instantly drawn to the lighthouse's landlord, she contends with the vengeful legend of Annabelle's ghost and a superstitious community that has buried the secrets surrounding a decade-old murder. So, I love a good murder story, especially like kind of connecting it to the past. And I think Jamie Jo Wright does a really good job with that. So I'm really excited to read her next book. Next, on May 20th, comes out A Lesson in Propriety by Jen Turano. This is book 1 in Merriweather Academy for young ladies, and I love Jen Turano's books. They're just so lighthearted and fun and filled with such banter, and I just love her kind of, I would call her characters have a lot of moxie, I would say. This one says, with her father dead, her fortune stolen, wow, and her fiancé casting her aside, Miss Drusilla Merriweather's privileged life has been upended. She is left with only one option, to provide for her family by opening a finishing school in the allegedly haunted castle she's inherited from her eccentric aunt. However, her plan is immediately threatened by unscrupulous developers keen on claiming the coveted estate for themselves by any means necessary. Okay, that sounds really good. It sounds like it's almost like a little bit more of a mystery, or like, you know, like fighting for fighting for the right to own a school. I don't know, but it just sounds really great. Amy Lynn Green has a new book coming out called The Codebreaker's Daughter, and it comes out June 17th. And for some reason, there's no cover on Goodreads. I will try to find the cover, because I know I've seen it. It's just not on Goodreads. But I love Amy Lynn Green's storytelling. I just think she has really good storytelling for World War II. I've read 2 of her books, and both were like between 4 and 5 stars. So I'm really excited to read this one. It says Dinah Candle's role in the U.S. Capitol for the Office of Strategic Services is far from the thrilling espionage career she dreamed of. Instead of covert missions, she crafts rumors aimed at undermining Axis morale while trying to live up to the expectations of her demanding mother, Lillian. Yet as Dinah navigates her duties, she uncovers a startling revelation. Lillian was once a codebreaker, breaking military ciphers during the Great War alongside some of the nation's most brilliant minds. The deeper Dinah dives into her mother's journal, the more the secrets of the past come to light, including the heavy cost of high-stakes code breaking. That sounds good. I'm wondering if it's like, I don't know if it's dual timeline or not, or if it's like dual perspective, because her mother kind of possibly has a storyline as well. So that sounds really good. I'm intrigued. I'm really intrigued. Next one is called The Lawyer and the Laundress by Christine Hill Sons. Comes out on June 10th. And when I read the description, I was like, this sounds so good. Canada 1837, widower James Kinney knows his precocious daughter Evie needs more than his lessons on law and logic. But Toronto offers few options. Classes with the neighbor children seem ideal until James discovers Evie is secretly spending her time with Sarah O'Connor, a kind and mysteriously educated servant. For propriety's sake, James forbids their friendship. But then Evie falls victim to the illness ravaging the city, and James must call upon Sarah's medical knowledge and her special bond with Evie to save his daughter's life. Is this going to be a romance? I know there is. I think it's going to be really good. Next is The English Masterpiece by Catherine Ray. It comes out on June 10th. And this cover is so great with the red and the gold. I love those colors. Set in the art world of 1970s London, The English Masterpiece is a fast-paced read to the end, full of glamour, secrets, tensions, and lies as one young woman races against the clock to uncover the truth about a Picasso masterpiece. I'm just going to stop there. It sounds really good. I love stories about art. I love art, especially Picasso. Well, actually, I was going to say Van Gogh. It was Van Gogh. But I do like Picasso as well. And that is the last book, actually, that I have. The rest come out in the summer. Lots of books. These videos are usually about this long because I have so many books that I would love to read. Let me know what you're most excited about coming up in the next couple of months. I have a feeling that I'm going to read a lot of those like fantasy, sci-fi books. They're going to be great. Historical fiction seems to have like a lot of really good books coming out. So I'm really, really excited. And I read the majority of genres out there. I read pretty much all of them. So I'm really excited to pick all of these up. Will I actually do that? Probably not, since, there's only so many days in a year, but I'm really excited for these new releases. So I can't wait to chat with you down in the comments. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next video.